How do you know when to start coding on your MVP? We have built dozens of MVPs over the last few years, and our latest product hit a 6-figure run rate just after 3 months of launching. In this video, I will show you the exact process that we use in order to decide what belongs to an MVP and what not, and what we cut out before writing a single line of code. Basically, in the simplest way to build a SaaS, you have the proof of concept of MVP and then, let's say, the iterated versions. So version 2 to n. This is like the mathematical description. Proof of concept is just to see if there's some technicality that you need to figure out. Once you hire a developer, just let them code some things and see if you can actually get along with them. For example, what we are doing with Footage Fox right now. This is just my own management tool for my YouTube channel, where we just have our B-roll footage in here. This is a proof of concept. This is not a SaaS. The difference is you cannot sign up. It has a lot of bugs and doesn't have multi-tenancy. So for example, what we have in here is some kind of tool in order to make overlays. This is not useful for the people we're selling this one to. We could do that, but it would be one of these features that customer would see that and think, I don't actually need this. It's not great. It doesn't have good UX. It's not a bureau management, so it's just something else. And so this is not something that would belong to an MVP, but it fully belongs to a POC. So here, this is basically where we do the experimentation and we try out the tech. For example, this is what I showed before and what we're coding with Footage Fox right now. We have this thing where we need to see about the cost. So we're making a calculator for cost. We're just having a look at what are the parts and what do we need to make sure that it works before we actually code the MVP. And then also market research. You can even do this before. That's probably better to do this a bit before. But this is basically where you do market research. And by the way, this is the time, right? Just so we're clear. This is the time, right? So now you have the parts. So the thing we wanted to figure out, what is the use case that we're actually doing? Now market research here, once we have something, we can even show it to people, right? Show it around. I showed this to a couple of people, just this view. I showed it to a couple of people and say, you can search for meeting and you get all the tags with meetings. Great. And then you take this and you show it around. And based on that, you get some responses. So you have market research and get some responses. And then you formulate your MVP. And the MVP basically has one main use case. And it doesn't have all the other things. So for example, for us, the main use case is not, as I showed before, it's not this overlay editor. This is not the main use case. The main use case is you connect your Google Drive and you have a search on your videos. That's the main use case. And the videos are tagged by AI. So we can formulate this here. And then what you also need, you need to have a way for people to sign up. And the sign up also includes multi-tenancy so that people cannot see each other's data. It's the implication of a sign up, public sign up, multi-tenancy payment. The problem people always do is that they would do too much. So they do the experimentation, they tried some tech. So they would now make a bloated MVP here. And the bloated MVP, this is exactly what you should not do. This is not good. The problem is not exactly that you have too many features and people are confused what the features are. The problem is you will never get done. And then it's harder to market that because you're catering to too many people, and this would then affect also the marketing. So if you have a bloated product, then you say, oh, it does this and this and that. No, the problem is this. For example, if you look at something like ClickUp, and they have everything. I mean, they have these nested tasks, of course, but then a lot of integrations, a lot of hooks and automations and projects, and basically you can design anything you want. People are looking at ClickUp and they're saying, oh, they have these features. Oh, great. I also need these features. Now they're coding all this out, and then they're left with a product that does too much and it's not specific enough. What we do, it's a very specific problem case. It doesn't do everything. So for example, there's something called Frame.io. What it does is you have this comment feature. The one thing Frame.io is being used for is this comment feature, right? You have a product management on your videos. This is it. This is Frame.io. That's what they sold. Now they're trying to expand the market and make a full management system for your creative studio. Okay, that's great. They can do that. But this is like the end state of it. If we would now code the Frame.io feature into our tool here, then we would be doing too much. And this is why if your MVP is bloated, it also affects the market. Then you have a problem of focus. So we take this off. Everything is harder to do if you have too many things going on. The other thing people don't see is that a feature always looks fast, right? So the way software developers think about a feature, the developer stops thinking after the proof of concept. So there's a feature, let's assume right now it's just AI tagging. So you're thinking AI tagging, okay, so I chop up a video into different frames, upload them to the cloud, to the AI, and it gives me what's happening inside the video. Okay, great. This is the proof of concept, and we have that. We coded it here. This is a typical proof of concept. Let me just add another one. Okay, so let me just here. Yeah, so it's uploading faster. This is me, by the way. This is how I look from behind. This is something that someone could do in a week, but it's not an MVP. It is not a SaaS. People would think, okay, This is what a software developer would look at and think, okay, this is what I have here. This is like the 20% of it. Let's put it like this here. And now what happens after this, you have an 80% of the stuff that's actually hard. So 80% is now suddenly you need multi-tenancy. You need cloud. It needs to be fast, right? So you upload it to the cloud, you make sure it's parallel. You have security. You have tests, you have another developer who helps you work on it. You have like management, and then you have feedback reviews, and then you have UX, which needs to be really good. And then you have a manual, like instructions, onboarding. So all these things is what a developer doesn't see. So imagine you have one use case. Yeah, you have one use case. You think it takes a week, but it takes a month. Okay, fine. But if you have many of them, you have a bloated MVP, then you basically have many of those here. So suddenly you go from what you think it would take here to 5 times that. And that's the reason why an MVP really must be focused on the main use case and needs to be done really well with great UX. If you're planning your software product and you don't want to overbuild your MVP, subscribe to this channel for more content like this, where we show how we build our SaaS in our venture studio. This is like our internal tooling. It's not something where it's a SaaS. And I think this is exactly the fallacy that a lot of people do when they are making any kind of software product. And this can be technical people, that can be non-technical people. And it happens a lot to developers who are single owners of their not yet business, but soon business, where they would take a long time until they launch. And as it takes a long time, they are now getting obsessed about features. So they would make everything right. They would see, okay, why is this clock here not correct? And they would now do like random features that are not relevant. So for example, one thing that I could be doing, but I'm moving a bit for later. So this is basically my task list right now. And what I could do, and there was a feature request where we can move this like Notion. You would move this and it would indent and it would become a subtask of this task. Yeah, this is my note. So this is how it goes, right? We have our call right now and I could have subtasks here. Of course, we would all like to have it that we have subtasks here, but we don't do this right now because it's not critical. Critical is that we first get everybody onboarded and then see how they like to use the tool. And if that's proven, then we can think about if we make a SaaS out of this. But what we could do is improve this thing for many more days. But then what's the incremental gain we would get? If people work on a SaaS too long and not releasing it, that is usually a problem. I know people who have, especially one guy who has worked on an email marketing SaaS for a long time and he's not releasing it. And it doesn't make any sense because the software is done. He's just fearing to release it. So, and once you have that, then you're going into the version 2. Now this is all customer feedback. You cannot plan that. You can have an idea what you want to build, but you still need to base it on what people actually want. And most people don't even get that because here is where you make money already. So you should get here to 5-10K MR before you even do this kind of stuff, because if you're then iterating too fast on those, then you're getting distracted. Maybe you find like 2 customers who want one feature but nobody else wants them, and then you're building this thing and now basically ending up here. So the bloated MVP is always the big threat that's looming over a SaaS developer. You can always float into this thing and then shit happens. And this happens to a lot of companies. One person even said ClickUp had the problem. So it's a great software, but it's now bloated. And now you cannot control it anymore and it's slow. And so you always have this thing where you need to focus this down, especially in the beginning, to find the people who really need this one use case.